Okay, hi everyone, and welcome to today's SmartDocs 360 webinar. We're proud to show you what we've built over the past couple of years and what it looks like. So a bit of housekeeping before we start. Today's session will be recorded and everybody will be sent a link to today's recording. So if you do need to duck out early, would like to share it with any of your colleagues, it is available on our YouTube channel. Any of our prior webinars are also available there. So if you go onto YouTube, just search for BGL and you'll find all our prior recordings there. If you do have any questions throughout today, please enter them there into the Q&A panel. We do have a few BGL team members signed in who are happy to answer any questions. And of course, we'll cover any questions live at the end. So if I haven't met you before, my name is Jeevan and I'll be today's presenter. Numbering's a bit out there, but also joining us today is CEO of BGL, Daniel Tramontana. Welcome, Daniel.
Hello, Jeevan. How you going?
Good. I just need to learn how to obviously number slides properly, that's probably number one, but
Yeah,
yes.
looking forward to today's presentation. We've got
Today. So I'll pass over to Daniel, who would like to, I suppose, just chat to you a bit about the product before I give you a demo of what it looks like.
Perfect. Well, welcome everybody, and that's a pleasure for us to be here. And we thank you so much, for taking the time to actually sit through our webinar. We love showcasing what we do, and in particular, we love showcasing what we're going to be doing or what we're doing with SmartDocs 360. And SmartDocs 360 has been around for a little while, and while its functionality and the nature of it hasn't changed, what we are doing is that we are evolving the product so that its use can be expanded beyond just the BGL products. And the way that we're really positioning the product is that if you're struggling or need to get data in from different sources, different documents, etc., SmartDocs 360 will enable that process and make that process so much easier for you. And so the way that we've designed the product, and for those of you who use Simple Fund 360, and even in Case 360, there's some SmartDocs used within there, Simple Invest 360. Effectively, what we've done is that we've been able to take the product, the experience, our learnings, we've been able to provide it in its own standalone format. And with that one experience that you're already used to, you're going to be able to easily adopt and use SmartDocs 360 for other applications. If you're not using the BGL products and you want to use it outside of our products, we also have that same experience of being able to easily scan documents or bring documents in, PDF documents, and go through a process of reading the documents, extracting the data, and then presenting the data to you in a format that is easily accessible and easily usable and very flexible insofar as where it can be imported into and the use that you can make of it. And we've put a lot of time and effort to make sure that this technology that we bring to you and that we're going to present to you today will provide you with the best experience. And now, when we look at best experience, we look at a couple of things. We look at the experience that you'll have as a user, and then also the experience that those that engage with you, like your clients, will also have with you as their accountant or bookkeeper or lawyer or real estate agent, no matter what it is. And what we've been very, very thoughtful of and careful of is making sure that in the way that we design the product and the processes, that we are at all times designing and delivering to you best practice. And what I love about what the team has done and what Jeevan and is going to be able to show you very shortly is the way of getting data in has not only been so simplified, but then what it does is it positions you to not only have greater use of the data and greater applicability of the data, but what we get really excited about is that it allows you to deliver not only a great customer experience in bringing the data in, but it also then positions you to be able to deliver better service to your clients. And at the end of the day, the whole SmartDocs offering is from end to end a really smooth and I believe a sensational process that's been designed by a team that will allow the process of getting data from docs to you in a format that can be used, giving you the flexibility to do what you need to do with it. And ultimately, not only we're delivering to you a great experience, but we're also positioning you to be able to deliver a better experience, service, engagement to your clients. So Jeevan, if you're happy with me to move on, I'm happy to move on. It's not often that we get to share the stage together, but
No, that's right. Well, I thought to go, Daniel, well, let's something a little bit different. Let's talk about the three main use cases. So we've obviously, this product's gone live in November, and these are the three main use cases that we've seen since November. So let's chat through these. So Daniel, I don't know if you do number one.
Yep, no problem. So look, the use case one is I need to scan bank statements and convert to CSV. Now, why we see this as an important one is because what ends up happening is that we know that while there's many cases that you can get bank data feeds or automated bank data feeds through open banking and other sources, BGL bank data services, in some cases direct. We also know that while there's a number of facilities and feeds available, there are a lot of banks and a lot of feeds that you just simply can't get data feeds for, or your clients don't want to sign up for particular services to make the delivery of data a seamless process. So what we've done here is we've developed a technology which is an important point here, Jeevan, and I know that we talk about this a lot, is that it's not template driven, it's AI driven. So essentially, we can take any data from, or we can take any bank statement and we can translate the data from that bank statement into a format, which in this case here we convert into a CSV, which then gives you the flexibility as to where you want to use it and how you want to use it. So now you're not restricted by external factors when it comes to getting data in. You can drive the collection and the processing of the data simply within SmartDocs 360.
Absolutely correct. And what we found is probably 80–90% of the documents sitting on our platform at the moment are bank statements.
Yep.
Use case number 2.
Yep. So with this one here, so people think that or people may have the misconception that the scanning of documents is limited to just bank statements.
And invoices and receipts.
Yeah, invoices, receipts, stuff like that. So what we've actually done is we've expanded the use and the breadth of which documents can be used within SmartDocs 360. So the beauty about what we've created is that the more documents we feed in, the smarter the system gets. And essentially, the smarter the system gets, the greater the width and breadth of documents that we're able to work with to extract data from. And so that limitation of relying on somebody to have a system in place to be able to feed you data is not needed when it comes to SmartDocs 360, because that limitation can easily be addressed through our clever SmartDocs 360 process, which is essentially scan the docs, push it through, we extract the data for you.
And I'll show an example of quite a few of the different document types in the actual live demo there. And the last use
I know
case,
one of the ones we've been seeing a lot of is things like, you've been talking about rental statements and, even things. I think we had a great example of a property settlement one, Jeevan, if I'm not wrong, where it had all the disbursements and all the different items that come through from a property settlement, and being able to scan that through, and we pick up all those items and create journals to work out cost bases or to work out, capital gains in the cases of disposal. So there's so many great things that we can do with this.
Yep, exactly right. And the last use case here is obviously around pricing. So one thing which I'll cover in the later slide is that, how much is our solution cost, but a lot of other, feedback we get is a lot of those solutions are either too expensive or have complex pricing for what they're wanting to use it for. So I'll cover the pricing at the end, but that's one of the other use cases.
Yeah. And the beauty about what we've added here is that we've got a use-based model. So you're not having to pay thousands of dollars in advance to be able to use the product. It's you pay as you use it, which is so much more flexible and basically gives you the ability to use it at your discretion when you need it.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's go on to the next one. So as Daniel touched on, obviously with SmartDocs 360, this is technology that we built in our existing SMSF platform, Simple Fund 360. We then got a lot of feedback from clients saying, would you like to, we would like to use this for platforms which are not BGL platforms. So looking through there, obviously in August 2020, we released our first one, which is the bank statement one. And as Daniel touched on there, it's AI and OCR driven. So that allows us to, rather than creating OCR templates for every single bank in Australia, and that would mean that every time the bank changes advertising, changes the format, it would break. We can create one AI model that covers every single bank in Australia. And that allows us to obviously bring that through. And we've now even extended that now to international bank statements. As it's got there on the slide, we obviously won an AFR award for this particular technology. And then what we're showing you now is how you can utilize this technology for clients that are not sitting in a BGL platform. So example, in a general ledger platform such as Xero, MYB, or QuickBooks, or even other types of solutions.
Yeah, and I suppose, Jeevan, just going back to that, that's a key point of differentiation, because we've known of, and we heard of a particular provider who's basically using templates. And the problem with a template is that anything changes on that, then you have to change the template to be able to read the data from it. We're not restricted by that. We're actually empowered by that limitation and create possibility through it. So it's a really big point of differentiation.
100%. So it doesn't need to be the original statement. It can be a scanned image.
Photo,
Some of our photocopies can be slightly blurred. The quality doesn't need to be 100% in certain cases. I wouldn't say all.
yeah,
Same thing, you could have handwriting over the top and things like that. And as long as it's not affecting reading the actual individual figures, that's usually not an
correct.
issue.
Yep.
So just obviously some stats there on the stage, and we'll sorry, on the slide, and we'll as we go through there. So obviously we support bank statements, there's property settlement statements, receipts and invoices are sort of a given. There's rental property statements. We've also added dividend statements recently, some ATO documents, contract notes, international statements as we go through. And down the bottom right there, you can see how many bank statements we've actually processed through. So it just shows that obviously within BGL's technology, it is a proven solution. Okay, so two slides here on how it actually works. First of all, is get the actual document in. So it's like capture it, and there's multiple methods which I'll cover just a bit later on. It obviously then SmartDocs 360 works its magic, and then obviously you get the results. So that could be the CSV or pushing out to the various platforms. Looking at that in a little bit more detail, there's a few different ways of actually getting documents in. So you can be either uploaded or emailed. We can utilize obviously mobile phones, and there's two obvious options there. We've actually got one which is a QR code, which can be utilized to even if you don't have a native app installed, which is the SmartDocs 360 app, you can still use your mobile phone as a scanner for once-off scans or just on the fly where you don't want to have SmartDocs 360 installed. Or SmartDocs 360 does have both a iOS and Android app, which can be obviously installed there as a native one and can be utilized as well. So there's multiple different ways of obviously getting those documents in. With Xero, we have a default integration there, which allows us to sync clients, so contacts, and chart of accounts to actually sync across, and we can actually push documents back in as well as journals. QuickBooks is currently being built out, and that will be available shortly. And we do have MYB in the pipeline as well, so we're sort of going along and building there one by one. But however, if you are utilizing any of those platforms and you don't want to use the default API integration, you do have the ability to push those out to CSV. Or if it's a custom solution or something else, again, same basis that you can still utilize the technology to just generate a CSV, and it can go into any platform you do like accordingly. So there's multiple different cases that can be met there. Some of the features that you can see there, so obviously we can extract various document types, which we cover. There's a lot of categorization of transactions and automatically creating contacts, which we'll cover going through. The ability to split documents. So I'll show an example of that in the demo here, and obviously extracting out. The different types can be seen there on screen. I'm not going to, I think I read through those on a prior slide, so I don't want to go through, accordingly there. But obviously, there's different use cases for the different entity types, different businesses there. Obviously, with the bank statement extraction, we can cover obviously credit cards and loan statements as well. And there's various types of bills that we can split into different types. So, for example, council rates where they're paid quarterly, we can split that into quarterly payments and things like that as well. That slide we've sort of just cover. So a bit of a there. I've touched on the mobile app. There is a native app, which I'm not going to go in today's demo, which is available on both iOS and Android, which you can utilize. But rather than just looking more PowerPoints, let's get into a live demo and look at how it actually works. So I'm going to jump there across into my particular entity here. Platform. So what you can see in front of you is SmartDocs 360. So in here, you can go through and create as many different entities you like. We've got some practices that currently use it who just create one entity, which they use for all their documents. If they, for example, using just for bank statements and things like that. So you've got a lot of flexibility in how you'd like to do that. If your entity is connected to other platforms such as Xero, you'll see here straight away that the particular entity there will get connected. So as you can see there, a couple of entities there as going through. So obviously a lot of flexibility there in terms of those entities and how they go through and are connected. Let's go through and select a particular one. Cool. So as we saw in terms of demo, so I've actually preloaded the documents in this case, but in terms of going documents in, there's various ways we can do that. And as I said, like we showed on the slides there, but you've got the ability here to load it in, and you simply just drag and drop here directly onto the interface, or you can click on the upload button. Each entity's got a unique email address. So that email address there, you can actually, if you're actually forwarded documents by your clients, you can send them in, or if you'd like to give your clients his email address, they can be, again, they can forward them in themselves. And you can, of course, connect to one via one of the apps there, which is obviously the Apple or the Google Play app. Going there. So we actually allow multiple different ways of getting the documents in and going through. If you are emailing the documents in, you can actually email individual documents in one email. It can actually, we do support the ability to split documents as well. Or they can be just multiple emails. It doesn't matter how many ways getting in. It doesn't matter which way the documents get into SmartDocs 360. They're all processed in the same manner. So really, it's just the key is getting the documents into SmartDocs 360.
Now, Jeevan, just when interacting with the platform, and if clients choose to have their clients send stuff to SmartDocs 360, they maybe explain the need to have that like a standard email address that it will identify or is attributed to the client to make sure that it ends up in the right place.
Correct. So if I go back to the entity screen, you'll see each entity has that, I guess, what we call a unique email address. And that email address there will direct the email that's sent to that particular client or entity. So there's that one-to-one relationship going on. That's the first piece. And then, but you don't need to classify anything in terms of the email being sent. You don't need to write what the document type is, doing that. Or same as when you upload it, obviously we classify those documents accordingly. Um, going back out to Going back out into user stuff. So if you are an existing user, BGL user, inviting clients or additional users is the same process and uses the same system. If you're new to BGL, you will go in and select their obviously email address, first name, last name. So this could be, for example, and it's someone internal like an employee, or it could be someone like a client that you just want to upload documents. So you've got various roles, and those roles determine obviously what they can and can't see. And you can invite, there's no limit on the amount of users that you can invite in. And those users can have access to all the entities, some of the entities, or just one particular entity in terms of, let's say, a client accessing their own data. Okay, let's go through and look at some more of the exciting stuff, which is really around the documents. So in this case, I've actually connected this client here to Xero already. So what it's done in this particular case, it's connected to Xero. It's actually downloaded all the contacts, as you can see here, automatically through here into Xero. Same with all the categories in terms of the chart of accounts. It's brought those through automatically. And there's obviously if I go and edit any of those in Xero, add more in Xero, it's automatically synced and brought through automatically. I can also force the sync if it's not done real time, because obviously Xero has API limits on how often we can call and get the latest details. Also in reverse, if you go and add a client or contact here, you do have the ability to, and you are pushing a document through, it will prompt you, would you like to bring that through or not? So there's a couple different methods there. Okay, let's go through into documents here. So the various documents you can see all sitting here into the various stats, and I can actually then got various filters. So I could see things such as just bank statements to begin with, or anything brought through. Let's actually go through and let's bring through one real time. Let's go through in terms of a bank statement, bring through this Macquarie one, for example, and just see that process. So that'll just upload it in and bring that through accordingly. I'm going to kill that one out. It hasn't been classified. And then you can see when I bring that through real time, it actually goes through and classifies that document accordingly. So let's go through and have a look at a few different ones here. So we'll look at some basic ones like invoices and that, etc. So like most of the apps available out there for invoices, what we can actually bring through is obviously the relevant information from the document, bring that through into obviously line items. So there's no additional charges or anything for line items. They're just brought through automatically. Go there. And then you've got the ability to, whether that's in bulk, you can export all of them to CSV. You can do things like I've got here, the ability where I'm connected to zero, I can push that out to zero, and that'll actually push that through there as obviously going through as a bill item or an invoice, depending on what's taken place, as you can see automatically. But all the relevant line items are brought through there automatically. What we do as part of that, which I sort of glossed over accordingly, is when the invoice line items here, or the overall line item there is brought through, we try and use a description to automatically match that against the relevant chart of accounts code there in Xero. You do have the option there to obviously edit and override that. Okay, so let's go back out. So my bank statement here, couple different things here. If I go through here my bank statements, as you can see here that everything's extracted, and you can see what's highlighted there on the left-hand side, the relevant fields which are extracted. Here on the right-hand side, this one's obviously a fake statement, but you can see the relevant information is brought through. And if there's any errors that are coming through, you can actually see in this case it's saying it's not equal to the balance. That'll be brought through automatically and obviously coded there. But once that information is available, you do have the option there to simply import into Xero, and you can select which account or export it out. So in this case, if I want to export it out to CSV, I've got a few different formats here. So obviously you got a CSV, you got the old QuickBooks format, you got the CSV ASCII, and Excel. So Xero, we've got our pre-coded various ones here, CSV, the QuickBooks Online one. So a couple ones I want to point out is, first of all, the Xero CSV would just be the narration amount and date as per the bank statement. You've also got a pre-coded one, where it's actually linking the information from the invoices and other documents, and also pre-coding those accounts so that to reduce the amount of transaction matching that you need to do within Xero. But exporting out to CSV, obviously, fairly simple process. Export to CSV. If you are in Xero, we'll give you a link here where it's linked. It will take you directly here to the CSV import screen to actually bring that through automatically. Xero and a lot of other platforms don't allow us to automatically push that via the API. So that's why that's a CSV export. Okay, so another example here as I work my way through. In here, it's accounts or rates, and as you can see, it's extracting through each of the installments by each of the quarters there automatically as we work our way through. This one here touched on in terms of difference of documents. So here we've got a rental annual property statement, which is, if I make it bigger there on the left-hand side, which is obviously done on an annual basis. It's got the rent amount for the year and all the relevant disbursements. And what we can actually do is actually push that into Xero as either a manual journal or bank statement. So that can be done automatically. So in this case, let's push it as a manual journal. I push that into Xero. If I open up again, the same thing is there for that property statement. It's brought through and automatically created that journal there accordingly. On the same basis, what it's done in terms of the Xero accounts, automatically selected what it thinks is the correct accounts based on the charts that's there. And like before, you've got the ability to override. Okay, so a few different other examples working my way through. So this is an international bank statement. So this here, I've got a UK statement where I can actually go through and selecting in this case British pounds. What it's actually going to do is automatically convert the amounts from, in this case, obviously the pounds to Australian dollars using the RBA rates. And that will do it on the actual date of the transaction accordingly and convert that to bring that through. Again, export to CSV done in the same manner. So it's something quite new that we've actually gone through and brought through automatically there. couple other examples that we saw there in the slide. So obviously dividend statements with the ability again to extract all the information to export out to CSV as well. And again, those things can be done in bulk. Same for those that are trading stocks that we can bring through the relevant information from contract notes and extract that out to CSV. A couple of different other examples here. I'm going to go through to this one. I think it's a scan one.
But it also goes beyond this too. Like if you've got some of those really complex tax statements at year end with many, many components and stuff like that too, it's able to support those types of documents too. Correct, Juven?
Correct, yeah. So we can bring relevant information through. I was just looking if I had an example here of this one. Oh, this one here is a good example. So this is where a document's been scanned in, and you can see the first one is a council notice. The second one looks like a hotel. Third one looks like a rates notice. So it's just been scanned in, multiple documents. You can go through and click on the button here, which is split documents, which then uses AI to predict how to split that out. You can go through and rename the relevant documents accordingly because it's actually going to use the original name. And obviously having a name like scanned isn't great, but it's actually predicted how to actually split the documents. So you're just in here, we're still reviewing and making sure that the AI has got that right. You've still got that full control. And if that's right, then it will split that out and then it will process each of those individual documents now on an individual basis. First of all, trying to classify what type of document is that, and then next, obviously, applying the relevant model. So let's look at a different one. So let's say this one here. In this case here, I've got a property settlement statement. So this is another example here where I've got that statement and I'd like to create a journal there into Zero. So I can go through and push it out to Zero. And again, it's going to create a journal there in Zero where it's got all the relevant fields there from the settlement statement and automatically selecting the correct accounts there going through. So as you can see, we've tried to take, I guess, a lot of the complex statements and bring these through automatically. We've also got, I don't have an example here, but we've got an example there with a trial balance as well. So let's say, for example, you were converting a client from MYB to Zero or vice versa. You didn't have access to data to actually convert, but you did have a PDF statement. We've got the ability there to actually read a trial balance statement, create the relevant chart of accounts, and then actually produce a CSV file to automatically import. In terms of Zero, we do a little bit more, but just because obviously that was the first integration we've built. But that's some of the other use cases there. We're actually just making, again, that very complex task and making it quite simple.
Juven, can we maybe show what it looks like in a CSV format?
This one here or the...
Yeah, this one here would be a great one because then people can see the flexibility of the manner in which we can export the data and the flexibility that's available. So maybe it put in Excel or CSV, whatever you like.
Yep, so I'll push that out to CSV, and so it's just moved to my other screen. Bring that through. So it just brings through, and it's basically very similar to the items you see there. It's brought all through the relevant line items in this case, and brought it out. And you can actually export documents on a bulk level as well. So it could be, for example, let's look at the dividend statements we did before. You were doing that for a relevant entity or an individual client, and you said, I wanted to, what's the total of this all together? You can actually extract that all as one CSV file as well. And it has all the, obviously the relevant items. So you do have a lot of flexibility on that name's not showing. Didn't like any Excel. Relevant items that obviously do go through and bring through. So it depends on the export format is not, it's obviously dependent on the document or the classification type. In that case, so I'll just close that out. So going back here where it's got the type of property settlement statements, etc., that type determines the export and obviously how we treat each document. Let's go back to this one, for example, utility bill. Let's say this was classified wrong and you said, okay, no, this should have just been an invoice. You can actually change the type and then click on reprocess. So if you think, obviously the default AI has got that wrong, you can go through and do that.
But the beauty about that too, Jeevan, and for those listening, is that will then, next time that type of document comes through, it'll know to treat it as an invoice rather than, as what it came in originally. So you can actually, by doing things like that, you're actually training and in some cases retraining the model.
Exactly right. And then a lot of what you see sort of on the screen here too, this table we've tried to make quite dynamic as well. So things such as if I go down to say utility bills, I've only got one there, but let's find something a bit more. So let's go maybe, I don't know if I've got any receipts, but here you go, relevant receipts. The actual table that's displayed down below will change depending on the providers. In this case, again, like say I wanted to export all those, I can select them all, click on export there on the top right. And again, that all that information will be exported in one unique CSV file. So a lot of that is sort of built in and done accordingly. Okay, so. So in terms of pricing, so we went out last year with a different pricing model, but based on feedback, we've sort of changed this back, and we've tried to make it as simple as possible. So it's not anything complex. There's no tiers, anything like that. We just really charge per page. So let's say you had a bank statement with 3 pages. That's classified as 3 pages that we actually scan. If you have a bill, an invoice with 1 page, that'll be 1 page. If it's a trial balance with 2 pages, that's 2 pages, for example. So there's no complexity to it. Doesn't matter how many entities you create. Doesn't matter if you connect to zero or not. Doesn't matter what you're doing. We're really just charging you for your usage, as you can see there. So it's really just looking at that and just quite simple in terms of the model.
And there's no other lock-in arrangements. So if you're not happy with it and you want to walk away, you can do that too. So there's no agreements, no locking things. So we don't lock you in for a fixed term. As you use it, you pay for it, and pretty much that's it.
Yeah. And the thing I should point out too is obviously with all our BGL products, we offer a 30-day trial of this. So you can utilize it for 30 days, see if it's right for you. Obviously, if it's not right for you, we're happy to hear any feedback and we're looking to obviously enhance that. But there's no hard sales tactic. It's just really going through. Looking at what's coming with the product too, we're actually adding some more, obviously document types we look to improve and add that and expand that. So if there's any document types you'd like to see, we'd like to go through and look at that. We're adding, based on a lot of feedback, a lot more tracking categories, obviously within ledgers and things. We want that ability. I obviously touched on some of the integrations and things there. Two-step here is an approval workflow. So if there's certain documents you'd like to see, so for example, approved by someone before it's actually, for example, let's go in this case, pushed to zero, we will have that ability. And that'll then extend out into accounts payable. So with accounts payable features, we'll have the ability to bring in invoices, etc. Group that by clients. Look at what's actually, again, have approval workflow built into that, automatically create ABA files from that, and be able to obviously integrate into various products. So that's currently being built at the moment, and should be available obviously sooner rather than later. Couple of things I'd like to point out is obviously, if anyone doesn't know, we obviously, from a BGL perspective, our work papers product, Xero is actually launched now, and we're part of obviously their XeroCon conference next year. Sorry, next month, not next year. Next year. So if you are at XeroCon next month, come along and say hello to myself or Daniel. We can provide more information on that, or actually give you more information in person on SmartDocs 360 or any BGL's products as well.
Yeah, so just to add to that, we'll also have James, who is the brainchild of SmartDocs 360 at XeroCon. And even if you want to trial it or take a couple of photos, push it up, work through it with him, more than happy to do things like that. But we'd love to see you if you're there.